Hey, the last minute of this video is a clip from the podcast 20 Good Minutes I have with Dr. Benji. If you like it, check it out. The link is in the description. Normally I start a video with some funny skit or something, but I'm actually going to start this with a disclaimer. There are certain things in Football Manager that I just don't do. It's a game where you set your own difficulty rating, and things like attribute masking, which is where you can either see all the attributes of the players right away, or they're masked and you have to scout them. Those sorts of things I've just always left off. I want to make the game feel more realistic and more challenging. And even though what we're about to talk about today is completely legal, doesn't break the game at all, you get a bunch of Wonderkids for free. It can be a lot of fun, and it is going to make a lot of your Football Manager experiences a lot better. It's also not something that I do. I was also recently remade aware of the fact that you have the ability to kind of cheat in Football Manager all the time. Anyways, not that this in particular is cheating. Everybody has their own definition of what cheating is in Football Manager. And so I would strongly encourage you to not care. It's a video game. You can do whatever you want as long as you are having fun. Apparently, I just enjoy pain, and I know a lot of you do too, but it's just cool to know things like this if you ever want to do a save where you utilize one of these sorts of moves. I've talked about this on stream before. A ton of people found it cool and they didn't know it existed, so you can absolutely know this exists and not use it all the time to completely soil your game. If you want to watch those streams, I stream on Twitch, by the way, link down in the description, but this is how to sign the best Wonderkids all over the world for free. Although sometimes they are not 100% free, FIFA does mandate some sort of compensation when signing young players on youth contracts like we're going to be doing today, but it is pennies on the dollar for a lot of the Wonderkids that we are going to be grabbing. Game changer. Let's go. So to take a look at this, we are dropping into kind of an older version of my Twitch save because I don't want to actually impact it too much. You go to the top right, there's this globe. You can use this, select any competition, any team that you want to select, right? If you just really want to look at the Ecuadorian national team, you can. You really want to go into the Peruvian leagues, you can. We want to go to World. When you go to World, you go to Transfers, and in the top left, you click this drop down, and you go down to Youth Intake. And here, you can see the youth intake of every club in the entire world. It's like this is FIFA's ledger of all the different types of transfers that are coming through, but this is the youth intake for every team everywhere. Then if you don't have attribute masking on, you can already see the attributes of every single one of these players. And so you just go through and you look at them as the youth intakes come through. That's the first trick, though, is understanding when the youth intakes are actually going to appear, because there is a brief window after a youth intake appears and before a team offers a contract to the good players in the youth intake that you are obviously also going to want to offer a contract to, and you are attempting to strike in that window. Now, if you Google this sort of thing, you just type in FM22 youth intake days, you will find a bunch of lists, but there's one on Dexerto.com that accomplishes it, gives you a nice range of when the youth intakes are going to come in. Usually is a frame of reference in your mind about 75% into a season. So if you have a summer league, you're looking at October, maybe November. If you are in a normal winter league, then you are looking at March-ish. And it is within those ranges, some of which, like Australia, are narrowed down to 2 days, and some of which, like Brazil, are September 22nd to October 20th, that you will be checking this youth intake setup every day to see when you have the opportunity to pounce on those talented young players. There's also one other thing that you can do to give you even better chance of succeeding here, which is you go back to the drop down and you go all the way down to the subscribe button, which you'll find below the video. And if you haven't hit it yet, if you could, that'd be greatly appreciated. There are a couple of strategies for how to take this raw amount of data, which is essentially just this giant dump of players, right? The most recent youth intake that's come through has been Uruguay, which is a good intake. And in Uruguay, there are a couple of good teams. We just had the Colombian youth intake not too long ago. The issue is some of these further down the list came in 5, 6, 7 days ago, and so the best players are already going to have their contracts cinched up. So the teams that we can really go after are the teams that their youth intakes just came in today on the 4th or maybe on the 3rd. So if we look at a club like Cerro Largo, we look at these guys, you can approach to sign them. You click on these players and you go to approach to sign, and you will just have to pay a compensation. But what allows you to find the best players very quickly is something called a team report. So we're going to assign a team report to Vicente on all of these teams that are here. While you're creating these team reports, make sure that you're getting the team that those youth players are actually going to be on. So if I go to Cerro Largo, right, they have a senior squad, a reserve squad, a U19 squad. So when you want to get a team report, you want to get a team report of the U19 squad, because that is where all of those young players are. Like if you go to this U19 squad, you're going to see all of the youth players that are on youth contracts, and you're going to go team reports, U19s, anywhere, and you can get a team report and assign one of your people. You want to make sure you get a team report of that squad. It will provide you a depth chart, and I think very importantly, when you look at that team depth chart, once that report is done, you can do like a comparison thing. So I did the senior squad here so that you can see, and it'll be like more relative. But if you look at the team depth chart, it will give you the relative ability of those players compared to the ability of the players that are on your team. You get a little bit more information on the players, and of course information on the potential, and you can turn out multiple team reports a day. So you magnify that by 6 scouts, and you can take care of the entire youth intake wave of a place like Uruguay in like 2 days. And that's only with 6 scouts, and you would have the information that you need from every single one of the youth teams in Uruguay to educate your signings. There's a couple of other cheeky ways to go through it. One is the one I mentioned briefly before, which is if you know a team is very good at producing players, you go to that team. So let's just pick a team and pretend that they're Porto, right? Well, so I just simulated for today. So Rocha FC, we are going to click all of these guys, and we're just going to right click, report, and scout for a week. Then they'll pop up in your scouting priorities. You want to make sure that you get them to the top, which would be just click prioritize assignment. You can just click prioritize assignment, click prioritize assignment. Super easy. That just makes sure that you're starting the scouting initially, and then you come in every day and see if like the moment that you get a recommendation, you come in, you say, oh, the potential ability is amazing, this guy's amazing, and you go and sign him. There's also the uber simplified concept of going to the club and then just going to the top prospect, and if they are 15 or 16 years old, you can click on them and see if they're on a youth contract right now, right after the youth intake, and that person's the hottest prospect on the team. If they're at a club that you know is at least decent, that player is probably going to be able to contribute, and all you have to pay is the compensation, which in this case would be 230,000. But if I seek to negotiate a transfer for the guy that's on a youth contract, then the amount of money required is even lower. Every single region that comes into the game that is going to eventually populate the entire game and is going to be good is going to be coming through this youth intake part of this transfer section, and you have a shot to get them for minimal compensation, minimal transfer fees, before the club actually gets their hands on them. It's a dream situation. Clubs of all different sizes can make use of this sort of thing. It just makes life easier for all different clubs, and hopefully will make your gameplay experience even better. If it's not something you're interested in, you know it's out there, and maybe you want to try it at some point. I think I've done one save where I did this, and it was a lot of fun. You build this youth super team in no time, and it's a blast. And if that's the way you want to play the game, more power to you. I'll see you on stream, and enjoy youth intake days all around the world. It's like Christmas morning.
And when Chelsea turned up, it was like, wow, this powerhouse of football are doing something we've never seen before. They signed about 20 players in one season, and then they just sort of fell into the bed of English football, and they were sort of accepted as, oh yeah, Chelsea, right? When City did it, it started off again. It was quite a cool era of football. It was like, oh, someone to take on Chelsea's money. This is really exciting. But City have been sort of so dominant. They've got the best manager. Their team is so good. They play football that is almost predictable at this point. Teams aren't able to really cope with them. They've won 10 games in a row. When City or, not necessarily, when United or Arsenal or Chelsea win things, as a Liverpool fan, there's something inside me that goes, I really don't enjoy this. When City do, I'm just a bit like, yeah, whatever. You've spent £1 billion and you've won stuff. Congratulations.
So this is the most English thing I've ever heard. You would prefer the pain of watching a hated rival win the league than the numbness of watching Man City win the league.